All right, so I had a couple of people, it was either a message or a comment about how to hook up a manual boost controller, how does it control the boost, etc., etc. All right. Now on this car, you can run PCM controlled boost. You can use a boost box, which is something that I don't have, or maybe even be able to run it through the solenoids that are provided with the car originally. So it all depends on the tuner or what level you're trying to run. Now this large turbo here has an AGP manifold and it has an external wastegate. Okay, so the difference between external and internal is just where the exhaust gases vent. This one actually vents outside, separate from the exhaust. Typically it should go into the exhaust, that way it's routing it back in. But when you go external, you help release pressure on the backside of the turbo also. Now there's no mufflers, so this is a 3-inch exhaust going back through. Now when you do this, how do you control the boost? All right, I'm going to show you a couple things. I have the paperwork on the wastegate, and I have a couple different boost controllers I'm going to show you. So here, let's take a look. So here's the information on the wastegate. The books that they come with a lot of different springs which you can install, which will change how much pressure is on the back side of that gate before it opens up. All right, so that's just showing you what's there. Now these right here are all boost controllers. This is two different types of what you would call a manual boost controller. The way, well, I had some manual boost, you have to turn the knob. All right, either open or close this valve that's down in here. Okay, plus or minus boost. Basically all that is a valve that opens and closes and letting boost or vacuum go through here. All right, and this is exactly what this does here. It allows boost in and out, but it's also, that relay is controlled by a controller which you can mount inside your car. So if you want to turn your boost down, you turn your boost down. You want to turn it up, you turn it up. So there's a couple different ways there. Now you can also set this up right here. This one here is a multi-stage, so this is a 2-stage. So you can have full boost or low boost, and you can have it wired in and throw a button or push a switch or whatever, and it opens and closes a relay in there, which makes the vacuum go a different way. Okay, now when you set up your wastegate, all right, on your turbo, they give you a whole bunch of different springs. All right, so if you're doing this and you're doing an initial fire and you're just doing your tune and everything's getting started up, you want to run the lowest amount of boost possible. And I'm going to tell you that because you can damage stuff, because the tune won't be right, and yeah, bad things can happen. So I always start out with the lowest spring. If you look, you can say here, which one is this? We have a green, large green. Large green, supposed to be 9 psi. That is just a baseline. Okay, the green paint don't like to stay on there too well. So you have blue, large blue, that's 18. Then you have a red, where's it at? Small natural, should be a red here. Yeah, medium red, 6 psi. Okay, I have the yellow spring in right now, 1.5 psi. Okay, so this is what happens. Okay, your exhaust comes out of your cylinder head and then spins the fins on the back of the turbo. All right, and that builds up pressure. Well, that pressure is being held below this on the inside of the wastegate. All right, so that spring is on the top of this diaphragm here, and it holds it closed so that the exhaust gases don't come out and leave here. Once the pressure gets so high on the other side of this, it compresses this spring and allows the exhaust gas to leak out. All right, simple enough. There's an adjustment on the bottom of the diaphragm, a hole, and then there's a hole on the top side of the diaphragm. All right, now if you want more boost, you're going to put a larger spring in, Okay, so then it's going to take more pressure to push on the bottom of this before that exhaust gas is expressed out, which means your turbo is going to be spinning the exhaust side, and it's going to be spinning the intake side, and that's going to build pressure on both sides of the turbo, putting more load on the exhaust side, which builds boost in your car. All right, like I said, these might be, it might say a certain number, but it's not an exact science. All right, the whole thing we want to get to is explaining how to control it with the boost controller. Like I said, I have the lowest spring in here right now till I get everything tuned up. I'm only running 3-bar sensors, so you're looking at maybe 28 to 30 psi as a max is pretty much where those sensors max out. All right, and I'll tell you what, that's going to be more than enough boost for what I need. So, all right, now you have your let's just take this one here, your manual boost controller. All right, now you turn this thing in. You can blow through one end or the other. All right, and either air is going to go through or it's not. So if you try to blow through and it's closed all the way, good. That's where you want to start. So let's take this over. I'm going to show you what it's supposed to look like when you have it on the car and where the hoses are supposed to go and how to set this up. Okay, so typically your boost controller is actually mounted down here. Like most people zip tie it, or they'll have it mounted like down over here on this side between the battery and stuff for easy access. Not only that, it's away from the heat. Okay, now you need to run a hose down off the back of the bottom of the turbo, which is usually typically right above where your charge pipe connects. What that's going to give you is boost pressure is going to come out of here. Okay, the same boost and air pressure that's going to be being forced into the engine. All right, I'm going to hook it onto this. All right, okay, and then you're going to run a hose out of here back over to here, and most people connect it onto this bottom right here. All right, now we have the lowest spring in here. Okay, what I want to do is I want to pull this off, and I want to blow through this and turn this till all of the air is flowing through it and it's open. Okay, what that is going to do is it's going to let the boost pressure come through here, come through the controller, come over and force its way into the bottom of this wastegate, pushing the diaphragm up, allowing the exhaust to dump out and not spin the turbo. Okay, which is the whole reason why you have a wastegate. Okay, let's say I'm driving. Right now I have the yellow spring in, which it states it's a 3. This thing could run between 4 to 8 psi. Those big turbos, they'll spin a lot. I mean, one of these I did, it was running between 7 to 9 with basically this setup. All right, so more boost pressure is going to go in there. It's going to help push that spring open to keep my boost down until I have this tuned. Okay, now let's say I want to add a little bit more boost. What I'm going to do is I'm going to close this valve whichever way it is. I'm not sure which way is open or closed. It, plus or minus doesn't matter right now at this moment. Okay, what I can do is go and close this valve and work on closing it. It's going to let less pressure come through here, pushing our wastegate open. Okay, to the point where I can go the whole way down through here and close this off altogether, which will then have me running off of wastegate spring pressure, because there's not going to be anything helping to push it open. All right, now at that point, if I want a little bit more boost without having to try to change out the spring, I can pull this hose off of here, I can put it onto here, and then I can start opening this valve, which is going to let boost pressure come through that hose, through the manual controller, back over into the top of the wastegate, pushing that diaphragm shut. So very little here could make an increase over here. So let's say we were running 9, maxed out on our wastegate pressure. We now rev our hose coming from here to the top. I just opened this a little bit, 2 turns. That little bit of pressure going into there might have bumped me up to 12, 13 psi. But you will get to a point where you'll have that much pressure going through there, depending on the spring. you know, it might top out 14, 15 set up this way. So like I said, there's very different ways that you can adjust your boost pressure, but that is simply put how that diaphragm works. Like I'm saying, if we're coming off of here and we're connected to the top and we have a little bit of boost pressure coming through here going into there, it pushes that diaphragm shut, so it's going to make more pressure on this side. So it's kind of feeding itself to do that. All right, now it would be no different than if you have this sensor. You obviously wouldn't be using the blue, you'd be using the red and the green would be the one that would be controlling the wastegate between the top and the bottom. Your red would be going to off of your charge pipe, reading how much boost is coming in, sending it to your tip sensor, which is, it's hanging here somewhere. Right here's our tip sensor, our 3-bar tip sensor, and our temp sensor. And it would feed into that, and then that can all be controlled in the tune with someone who's a good enough tuner. And like I said, no different would this be in comparison to the other boost controllers that I had showed you. You could have that one set up for low boost, one set up for high boost on the two stage, then the one that's automatic. Instead of coming out here and turning this, you'd have your control right inside your car, which a lot of people usually end up mounting them down in here. I've seen them mounted up here and I've seen them mounted down here. I might, if I use that one, I'll put it here. Like I said, I'm not quite sure how I'm going to set mine up, but like I said, that's the thing. And let's say you're not getting enough boost that way and you want to change things out, you always have the option to come back over and change these springs. Like I said, these numbers here, they're kind of a guideline. I can honestly say I've put these in like 2 different turbo setups, and one I mean, the one with the lowest spring, it was running right up to 21 psi right off the get-go. The other ones, it changed it differently. The boost pressure was different. Like I said, one was 9, and then one was down to one was up as far as 21, and then we readjusted and put different springs and stuff in to get it down. The other one, it would only go up to like 9 or 12, so then we changed it out and we put we double stacked these springs. Some of these springs can fit in here together, so you always have that option too, like stacking them like that. But I can tell you right now, these need really squished down to be able to fit inside of the wastegate. So hopefully this little bit of information at least gives you an idea, basic idea of what to do. If anybody has any more information, please add. If I'm wrong, let me know. We'll get this right. We'll make another video. Questions, ask. That's what I'm here for. And with that being said, we got to get this thing running. See us.